Welcome to a very, very special edition
Hey guys.
of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. You're no stranger to Matt over here on the other side. I'm Tim Durling, and our very, very special guest star, Mr. James Mullinger.
Hey!
We are in James's hotel room at the Best Western in Woodstock, where he is performing tonight. And if you're here, you're going to laugh your ass off. James, I can't tell you how grateful I am. This is so cool to have you on here doing a show with us.
Well, it's an honor. I mean, and what's great for me is I've watched so many of your videos, so it feels very meta to be here and in the video. I'm actually in the video, so it's an honor, especially given the subject.
Subject matter.
Yes.
So yeah, some of you may be sitting there thinking, yeah, okay, well, I know who James is. He's funny. What's he doing on Tim's Vinyl Confessions? It just so happens, if you follow James on any of the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, his favorite band is Poison.
Poison, the best band ever.
The Glam Slam Kings of Noise. And we're here to talk about, all three of us are here to talk about our Poison collections. James is by far puts both of ours to shame.
What?
So we're going to go through album by album, singles. He's got some other cool stuff here. And we even have a very special gift that we're going to present to James that he doesn't know about until just now.
This thing's just getting better and better.
So I guess we'll start off, James, by saying, so you grew up in London.
Yeah.
So when did you first hear of Poison? What was the first song you heard? At what point did you get into it?
Good question. My best friend at school, Julian Tuddenham, introduced me to all of the... basically, I met him about 11 years old, and he immediately introduced me to the likes of Guns N' Roses, and of course Poison. And I mean, I remember certain specific things. Like I remember specifically buying Unskinny Bop on cassette. I also remember buying some of these 7 inches. Well, again, probably the Unskinny Bop. I was a completist even then, buying the 7-inch and the Cass single, as they were known. Lots of people remember the word Cass single.
Yeah.
But for me, the song that definitely jumped out on me is the same song that I love to this day. And literally half an hour ago, plowing down the highway, singing along to is Nothing But a Good Time, which I truly believe to be the greatest song of all time. No song gets me more in the mood for anything. If I'm nervous before a show and I need, or I'm feeling tired,
I've heard it many times at his shows.
Right, I'm always pumping it out the speakers. I feel like it gets audiences in a good mood, gets me in the right frame of mind. On my bachelor party, which was about 3 days of debauchery in the middle of nowhere, in a kind of a castle in the middle of nowhere in England, that song played on repeat for 3 days. So anyone else that was there now hates that song. So for me, it was definitely Nothing But a Good Time. And from 11 through to 41, so it's 30 years of love. I think what's beautiful right now, which of course what the audience can't see, is Matt's collection's there and Tim's collection, and mine's there. This is probably the most Poison merch that has ever been in one place outside of Bret Michaels' house. It's amazing. It's a wonderful thing, because I mean, I'm sure as you guys find, when you go into record stores and say, have you got any Poison? There's rarely much, which is why, I have to buy every, so for example, when I go in, if they've only got this, I buy it. And if they've only got this, I buy it. And if they've only got this, which you can't see because, what's in the way? Tickets to see Bret Michaels in Moncton! So I just end up buying every single, and these are of course all different editions, so they're worth, it's worth buying them. But I will always just pick up something even if I already own it. So, do you want me to scooch through these?
So let's start with at the beginning with the first Poison album, and something Matt and I have never seen on vinyl, which is awesome. Look what the cat dragged in. This looks so cool on vinyl.
Absolute beauty, and of course, and this is not a reissue. This is an original in beautiful condition. I can't remember exactly where I got it. Possibly at Spin It in Moncton or Second Spin.
It's a Canadian. It's a Canadian issue.
It's a Canadian issue. So it's bought here in the last couple of years, and it was it's a classic. It's the one that obviously that launched them on the scene, and I would be fascinated to know more about, because this thing with Poison is that they haven't become iconic like
unfortunately
other bands have. Like everyone knows the Motley Crue story now because of the Dirt, both the film and the book, and people know the AC/DC story and the Kiss story. Not many people know. Like I would be. Actually, I don't think I brought it with me, but I have a copy of Hard and Heavy, which was like a video. It was a VHS magazine.
Yes, it was like
it was kind of like Kerrang on VHS.
Yep.
And there's a bit of them talking on there about like how they came up with the look and how other people were doing, like in the film The Dirt, how Motley Crue were talking about how they decided they wanted to do something different. Not many people know much about Poison. So yes, obviously I have the CD as well, and of course the cassette. It is vital. As I mean, I'm preaching to the converted. Anyone watching Tim's channel is clearly a completist like us, and by completist I of course mean mentalist.
It's funny you should mention that because okay, so we're gonna go off a little bit off track, and anybody who's watched this show knows I have this bizarre part of a subset of my collection is collecting 8-track tapes. Now, growing up in England, what is your memory of 8-track tapes?
Basically, seeing them at my grandparents' house, and so it wasn't something that I necessarily grew up with. Seeing my first memories of them is probably collecting them. To be honest, actually my dad. I remember being at a. We scoured collectors fairs from a very young age. So all of my passion for all forms of collecting comes from my dad. He's an obsessive collector. He trained me in the art of sneaking bags of vinyl into the house when my mum wasn't looking. Like age 3 or 4, I was being trained to be a distraction while he smuggled these things in. It really is, right?
Yeah.
And what was the question?
So
8-track cartridges, yes.
Yeah, you remember.
So we were once, I think, at a flea market in Slough, which is of course where the office is set, and someone was selling a big box of 8-track cartridges, which at the time were not particularly collectible.
Right.
And they were old, but not so old. And my dad dug through them, and inside was a full set of mint Beatles 8-track cartridges.
Okay.
And so he paid peanuts for them, and basically it was one of those things where there wasn't a huge demand for 8-track cartridges then, but
now
a full
there is.
set, and now there is.
Yeah.
And a full set of mint condition Beatles ones was clearly worth something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are my kind of earliest memories of it.
So when you think about 8-track tapes in England, when did you stop seeing them? Do you remember when you stopped seeing them in the stores?
Well, yes, in that I don't recall ever seeing them in the stores.
Okay.
So they must have stopped way before. I mean, I would say. So I was born in '78. I would say, so if my earliest memories are mid '80s. At that point, they were not. So again, definitely. The first time I saw them would have been in a collecting capacity. Why? Did they last longer here?
They did. They like I was born in '74.
Right.
So I remember them being a very early age. Like some of my cousins would have like the Cars, Blondie, ones like that on 8-track. And they stopped selling them in retail stores around 1981, 1982. Right. So I used to think pre-internet that's when they stopped making them.
Right.
But mail order places like Columbia House, RCA Music Service continued to manufacture them all the way up through 1988. Matt,
That's
give
insane.
the man.
Check this out.
No way! That is unbelievable. I not only have I never heard that story before, but I have never. And what's weird about this is it kind of looks. It looks like it's from the 70s.
Well, it's
So was it a? Were they doing this because in a nostalgic way, or they would just produce in the same way that people are like this is a reissue of reissued now? Was that why they were doing it, or was it just because people still listen to them in cars?
So yes, it has a lot to do with the fact that people still had 8-track players, say, in their pickup trucks. And
Right.
their cars. Now, before you get too excited, if you had a working player and were to put that in, it would sound an awful lot like the Bee Gees.
Right.
Because Matt and I came up with the idea. I gave him the concept. This is not actually, but if this had come out in 1986 through Columbia House, this is exactly what it would have.
So you guys created this
because I have
unbelievable. Isn't it? Now, and it should have pointed out that
the slipcase is real.
See, Matt is a world-class designer, as anyone will know. I mean, the mastery of this beautiful Blu-ray available from all good stores and on my website is of course the work of Matt. And also, Matt has also ingeniously created for me in the past retro artwork of VHS covers of movies and stuff I've been involved in. So this really is a beautiful thing. So they didn't actually make a Poison one?
Not that we know of. However, there are ones from this era. There's ones I'm looking for from the same year. Van Halen 5150, AC/DC Who Made Who, and all the way up to Journey's Greatest Hits in late 1988 I'm looking for. And like I said, if this had come out on 8-track, this is exactly what it would have looked like.
And pop quiz, what's the greatest Journey song of all time? Don't Stop Believing, obviously, which somehow got caught up in my Poison collection.
That's a cool sleeve. I've never seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite bands.
This is obviously from England. I got this in Summers, Raves from the Grave, in Somerset, in England, near where my parents live, £2, and as you will both know, I at the end of every show, like every show that's a show that is in a theatre, I have the second I say goodnight after the inevitable encore joke. Whenever I say goodnight, I have this song play, and it's a trick I learned from movies when I was a kid. When you watch a shitty movie and it ends, as you walk out the cinema, if an epic song's playing, you kind of go,
You remember it is better than...
So I think if someone walks out of my gig thinking, who's a bit shit, but suddenly, don't stop, believing, they go, yes, and they love life suddenly.
And if you've been to any of his shows, you don't... It's a great song, you don't need it, because you walk out there laughing very hard.
This
is exactly what this looked like. I even went through the trouble, because they were broken up into 4 programs, and they tried to keep the 4 programs as equal in length as possible. So you may notice those songs are way out of order, but I tried to make it so that each one is approximately the equal
As if
length.
it was
That's also
real.
why they had to divide the songs. They did this. So I modeled this one. I've got the Loverboy album, Lovin' Every Minute of it, from 1985, and basically Matt modeled that after a shot I sent him of that. And I have some spare slipcases, so I said, we'll even put it in a slipcase form.
I love your work,
So-
James. And it's interesting learning that about 8-track cartridges lasting, because there are certain things that last longer in smaller places / more rural areas. I mean, a perfect example is there are still DVD rental shops in and around the Greater St John area, and I mean, across New Brunswick. I would go so far as to say nowhere in England, almost nowhere in England now, would there still be a DVD rental shop. But here we still have them, and similarly, I mean, the resurgence of and a lot of, and again, I mean, the market for DVDs here does tend to be people buying them for their cottages, their camps, their trailers, as a DVD player, and they're not hooked up to Netflix and so forth. So that's fascinating. I've learned something new. Thank you very much.
So it is possible to record them,
Yeah.
and I think that if you had a blank one, that would probably be just about the right length.
Amazing.
So there you go. We've been holding on to that for quite a while. So,
That's
so you must have some
unbelievable.
singles from Look What the Cat Dragged In.
Yes, well, you know what? I will go through all of my. So yes, like I say, the Unscreen book one I definitely had as a child, but and that's obviously from Open Up and Say Talk Dirty to Me, which is just an epic song that I believe they often close with.
It's usually their last song.
Yeah, it's their closer, which again, generally it's like they play nothing but a good time, and it's hard to follow that. But this,
But that was
obviously,
the first.
It's heavier, yeah. So that's Thunder, who I listen to also all the time. That's Thunder too. And there's Poison Fallen Angel.
Maybe my favorite Poison song, Fallen Angel.
Oh, is it?
Maybe, yep.
It's a beautiful one. I tell you what's something controversial is I don't like Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Yes, it's the only Poison song that I don't particularly like, which oddly is their most successful. Actually, kind of like House of Pain is one of my other favourite bands, and I don't like Jump Around.
Okay.
But I like everything else. I'll quickly just show. So obviously later albums, you know, not as great, but and you know, you have to have them.
That's their covers album, Poisoned.
Bret Michaels' solo album, which again kind of looks like a bootleg that's been knocked up by someone. I mean, again, as a design genius, you would appreciate that is not great design.
It's like he designed it himself.
Yeah, it does. It kind of looks like a child's like a bedroom wall from the 90s. Is it Bronson and a Page 3 girl? CDs, obviously, I mentioned Two Flesh and Bloods. Again, another later album, and then of course. Whenever you show something like this, it reminds me of that wonderful moment in Alan Partridge where Alan Partridge is trying to impress a girl and he's saying, oh yes, I love the Beatles, I love the Beatles. And then the guy kind of steps up and says, oh, what's your favourite Beatles album? And he goes, that would have to be Best of the Beatles. So those are those, and live work, live bootleg. This is the one I was listening to on the way here. I sent you guys a video of myself. It says FBI anti-piracy warning. I wonder if it is a bootleg. I can't tell, but
It isn't, but Matt and I know a little bit more about the origins of this particular
I would love to
show
hear.
here.
And
Now,
then
this is cool because you've still got it in the double.
yes, the double case. That was definitely bought from Backstreet Records in St John because that's Gordy's handwriting there. Poison. What's this? Oh, I've got the receipt in there. Let's see what else I bought when I bought this. I bought. It doesn't say.
A record,
a
a
record.
CD,
And there's of course a nice booklet in here, which
Quite a
is
big
very
booklet
nice.
in that one.
Yeah, it's lots of nice pictures, which we are going to get to relive when we see Bret Michaels live. And And then this one
This is
I
cool.
love dearly because it's filmed at the Hammersmith Apollo, where I did basically my last show in England before I moved here. I flew here the following day, actually. So it's a dream to see my favourite band on stage at a place. And then, of course, a
This is
VHS.
awesome.
This is a beauty. And, of course, this is how VHSs were in the UK. They came in these amazing cases, which I never understood why North America had those cheap slipcase things when you can have this glorious box.
These were usually what they came in when you rented them. This is what you
Right.
see on the shelf.
Yes, right. And then cassette-wise, of course, Swallow This on cassette. Again, Native Tongue, Two Flesh and Bloods, and that's it. Oh, and then of course, finally, the greatest album of all time ever, because nothing but a good time is on it. Open Up and Say Out. So basically, what I try and do is, as I say, have everything in every format, which is definitely something which my dad taught me, and sometimes two of each.
Sometimes on 8-track.
And sometimes now on 8-track, so now I've officially lived the dream.
Yeah.
I'll just pick up some of these.
That's the only one that ever would have come out on 8-track if it had. I'm quite sure.
I'm going to be telling people that it did, but I'm eyeing up something over here, which, as far as I know, I've never seen before.
Maybe what we'll do, Tim and I will just go quickly through from album to album, and as the
And then we'll
releases
talk
came
about-
out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
good
if you
idea.
have personal stories about, I love this song, or
Wonderful. Do that. Yes.
So Matt, go ahead because you're the bigger Poison fan than I, and we'll get into that.
well, again, going back to the first album, Look What the Cat Dragged In. I get into the band, and actually never really got into the band until the album after this, but I clearly remember in middle school, a friend of mine coming to school with this record,
Right.
and I'm like, okay, so I'm like in middle school, I'm like, what is that? I don't.
Yeah.
who-
Those are the hottest chicks I've ever seen in my life.
So,
And it was only halfway through jerking off.
so that's the debut album. I think mine's just like a BMG.
Just a BMG version.
Yeah, and that's interesting because there's no barcode, so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it's
It was a
press-
direct mail order.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Is that what they
some-
right,
yeah.
right.
It was like the competitor to Columbia House.
Right.
Yeah, so for me, Poison, I didn't appreciate them in their hit-making prime. They were
Right.
so big.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until after, and then when the grunge hit, which was a totally opposite type of music. I remember when their greatest hits came out. I bought that, and it's like, man, there's just great song after great song after great song.
Yeah.
And luckily, at that point, their albums weren't all that hard to find, although they are harder to find on vinyl. But my earliest memory of Poison, I kept thinking about this when I first heard of them. In 1986, 1987, Bon Jovi was my band. And I remember buying a magazine that Metal Edge put out. It was a special. So it was about 75% Bon Jovi. I'd say 15% Cinderella, who were opening for them at the time. And the rest of it was devoted to this brand new band from Pennsylvania. People think of them as the Sunset Strip LA band. They're from Pennsylvania, called Poison. So then I must have seen the video to Talk Dirty to Me on Much Music. So I don't have. I remember I have a history of remembering when they came out, but this is what I've got. This is my CD of.
And that's from
Look What
then.
the Cat Dragged In, and this is just a U.S. copy. It's not a reissue.
And
or
there's no
anything.
barcode on that either?
No, this was a retail edition, and this album actually only cost $23,000 to make, which is dirt cheap for a major
Wow.
label album, especially considering it sold 3-4 million copies. This is my cassette version, which is just a Canadian version on Enigma Capital. Now, as you can see, like even that's what I like about cassettes; they can look really different.
Yeah.
So the cassettes themselves, because I believe what you have there is a Columbia House
Yes.
edition.
it
Yes,
comes-
yeah, and this one is a retail one, and that's all I've got for Look What the Cat Dragged In.
Do you remember just doing this? Wasn't it a nice feeling? You would buy a tape. You would buy, and in my case, it was a shop called Woolworths. It's just amazing.
We
you
had
get it
we
hand-
had Woolworths was in the States, and the Canadian equivalent was called Woolco.
Right,
Same company.
right.
Yeah.
I've got the Talk Dirty to
Oh,
Me.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't have a lot of picture sleeves, but picked this one up for $3.99. Looks like Backstreet Records.
Now, what's the B side of that one, man?
There's your- So there's.
That's what Capitol singles
Talk
look
Dirty
like
to
at the
Me.
time.
And
Let's see what's-
Want some, need some.
Need
Yeah.
some.
Oh look, mine
Look
is
at
the
rainbow.
same.
Yeah. Same issue. All right.
It's interesting what you just said about the whole grunge thing and Poison's. Is that I think that's kind of what I like about them is that they feel good, and I think I was into Soundgarden and Pearl Jam when all that was happening, and Nirvana obviously, but I think for me the Poison thing was it was upbeat and unashamedly like celebratory, and I guess in some ways like nothing but a good time for me. It's just that it's that celebration of, especially also when you're a teenager and I just discovered kind of drinking and smoking cigarettes, and this kind of unashamed kind of like. Just women, wine, and carefree living, and that I just think. I mean, I know you could argue it's not the most positive outlet, but in some ways it is. In much the same way that Oasis is cigarettes and alcohol is, because in essence what they are both kind of are about is. Enjoy the little things, and it's like yes, okay, so don't drink, don't smoke, it's bad for you. But you know what? If you do enjoy that at the end of a long hard week, and you enjoy women and wine, enjoy your women and your wine because life's short.
And when you're a kid and don't have access to those things, it sounds very exciting.
It does,
just like, wow, so next up is definitely the biggest selling Poison album. I'm going to do this first. It's the one record I have by them at this point. I'm going to remedy that at some point, but I open up and say I've got one copy. This is a Canadian copy, and it's got the uncensored cover, and let me see, and it does have the original lyric sleeve.
Oh yeah,
and
snap.
Yeah, and the record itself. Sometimes the record late. I love this because. One side of it, nothing written on it except the cover. On this one, it's like other side, this side. So all the album titles are written here. And I also, the one single I have by them is, you've already seen it because James has it, but the Fallen Angels single.
Yes.
This is also a Canadian copy, and the B-side of this is Bad to Be Good.
I still can't get over that this cover
Was considered,
so they censored it.
Right.
I mean, this is pretty tame.
And here's the censored one, of course,
Yeah.
which is
by today's standards is.
But this was the height of the PMRC banning everything.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, and again, I mean, obviously in England we had, you probably know about the video nasty phase when videos were being, certain movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre were being banned, and you could go to jail for renting them out. And it's now kind of laughable to look back and think that these things were a concern. And as you say, I mean, I guess it's the combination of the title, open up and say with the tongue. But equally, I mean, it's not. There's clearly more offensive covers out there.
Yeah. This is my cassette of Open Up Say Ah. It's just a Canadian Capitol Records version.
So the reissue, which came out, which was Friday Music did in,
It's a gatefold.
It's a gatefold.
Very nice.
But as I was pointing out earlier, possibly is that there's obviously the artwork, which if you're watching this full screen, you'll be able to tell. On this reissue, the images they've used are of extremely poor quality, suggesting that they have either obviously only had low resolution scans left over, or more likely they had nothing and they've actually just scanned from that. But even scanning from that wouldn't be as bad as that. It looks like they've scanned from a CD.
Yeah. It's pixelated,
and
very pixelated.
It's very. They've sort of redesigned around.
Yeah.
And redone all that, but the images themselves are very pixelated. Yeah, but you're right. This album's definitely their holy grail.
Yeah.
I've got we showed the CD.
Yeah, I think we've got the CD.
So,
I think this is an old Canadian version of this. And not only is it got the censored cover, but I think Matt will attest to this as well. Early CDs like this
I was gonna say, did this even come out on CD like originally?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So-
because about '86 is when they first started
Yeah.
putting out CDs that were released the same time as they would have come out on record and cassette. But the older CDs are very, very quiet. You have to turn them up. I mean, you want to turn it up
Yes,
loud anyway,
sure.
but just to hear it, you got to turn it up really, really loud.
In actual fact, they might have even scanned it from the cassette.
Yeah, it's pretty poor resolution. And the only one in 2006, Capitol reissued the first three Poison albums, and it's the one that I did buy, and there was a specific reason for it.
Oh, okay.
This is the U.S. remastered version of Open Up and Say Ah.
So what does it got for bonus
It has the
tracks?
proper cover to it. It's got "Livin' for the Minute," a great tune, which was, I believe, it was the B-side of "Every Rose Has Its Thorn." Was not an album, and there's a world premiere interview that they would have done at the time that this album came out.
Ooh.
The CD design is very, very cool. Most of their CDs have some form of green on them.
Interesting, yes.
Very similar to the Poisoned CD, so that it's got the back underneath on the back of the CD tray.
I gotta
other
pick up some
than
of
that
those.
is, yeah, they all have, all of the reissued Poison CDs have extra tracks on them, but I really wanted Living for the Minute. It reminds me of when I was in my first year of radio broadcasting, because our instructor was saying, and it usually says what album it's from. This is from Open Up and Say Ah, and he flipped it over and he couldn't find, and I'm like meekly raised, that's because it wasn't on any album.
Right. Nice.
So then,
The only other thing from that period that I have, I think I picked this up at Second Spin.
Oh wow, it's an interview.
It's just an interview from that
Yeah.
period. Does not contain any music. It's just an interview with the band.
And is it official or is it a bootleg?
I'm
it's
pretty sure it's just a.
this
It looks
company
like
Back
a-
to Back
yeah.
is a UK company
in
that put
England.
out these
Yeah.
because that's I have Matt when he was in England in second year college brought back an interview CD with Gene Simmons
Oh wow.
and it was put up by the same company.
Not very fancy, but.
So-
Well, yeah, so that definitely is just, but it's interesting. What I love from this era, and one of the things I remember at record fairs when I was a kid, is stalls full of videos with photocopied covers of gigs filmed with
Yeah.
videos filmed with camcorders.
Which was an awful lot harder back then than it is now with like we're doing right now with the
that's,
phone.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, and but what I loved back then was that if you wanted to hear an interview with Poison, you couldn't just Google it. You couldn't go to podcast. You couldn't go to YouTube. You had to buy a CD to hear an
You had
interview
to
with your
seek
favorite
it.
band.
You younger kids don't realize how
Yeah,
easy
they
you got
don't
it
realize
now.
how, yeah, and
It's just on YouTube now.
yeah, and with these videos, like all of these, I mean, I used to love these typed covers. And actually, in fact, I was actually at a festival, Reading Festival, and there was a company there selling bootleg cassettes of the shows about 90 minutes after the gig ended. So Rage Against the Machine left the stage, and you went over to this table and you see you've got Rage here. No, but you're ready in a minute. And
Yeah.
so the cover's already designed, and I actually have the Rage one still. The cover's already designed, everything's ready to go. Someone stands there with a dictaphone,
Yeah.
records it. They go into a van, churn out 100 tapes,
Yeah.
bang them in the box, and then five pounds a piece.
So that someone had to record the concert in real time,
Yeah.
and then dub a copy.
Yeah, in
and-
real time.
Yeah.
So it was literally however long the gig was, is how long it took to churn out the copies. And I mean, the funny thing was, I mean, obviously the quality was not great, but I used to listen to those. Some of those albums were, some of those tapes are the things I used to listen to most. And actually, in fact, a lot of those Guns N' Roses tracks, which later got released, pre-Use Your Illusion, had them on a
They
bootleg
did them
too.
in concert
Yeah,
before the
yeah.
album came out. Yeah.
That's very cool.
So next up, maybe my favorite Poison album. I'm not sure. I don't know. Open Up's a contender, but Flesh and Blood, and this of course came out now. Your cassettes. When this first came out, the blood is running from the tattoo in this version, and some they cleaned it up.
Yep. So that actually is a tattoo that's on Ricky Rocket's right shoulder.
Yeah, and so
Oh, is it
you've got
really?
what you've got there is a U.S.
Yeah.
and a Canadian version. You can tell they look
Right.
different,
Yeah.
very, very different on the back and sides. That's a Canadian CD. It's not a reissue or anything from 1990. Even the CDs from 1990 were rather quiet, were a little bit low in volume. And
That is my favorite Poison album.
and
I
it
have
had
Rage
you
on
know
It is a classic.
Unskinny Bop, Something to Believe in, Ride
Yes.
the Wind, all came off of this album.
It's when they went to Vancouver,
They produced
right?
the late Bruce Fairbairn produced it in Vancouver,
And
so
I didn't realize that. And what's interesting about this, so this would be, I would have, when I was first introduced to Poison, it was obviously this, but I remember this coming out.
yeah.
This was the one that I
Bought it
basically
real
bought
time,
when
yeah.
it came out.
On release day.
So 1990, so that would, I would have been, I'm not being at math, 12.
12?
Yeah.
And Matt actually has, this is kind of, this is
Beautiful.
very cool because this is vinyl that Matt has. It doesn't have the
little
running blood,
Hype sticker. on
but
the
it's actually from its time. It's not a reissue, and I believe I think it's a U.S. Version. I wonder
It's
what
beautiful.
the-
Do you remember where you got this?
I
That was
don't.
probably
This
at
is one of the
Backstreet,
first
wasn't it?
record-
When
I'm
we
gonna
first
just
started-
look and see if it says Backstreet inside. It does actually.
It does. It
Oh,
has
yeah,
the
okay.
stamp.
They always
It's in
stamp their
record
stuff.
stamp.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
like,
yeah.
How do you guys do that? But anyway.
Yes,
And
it's
then
odd
there's
that.
there's the sleeve, the same kind of stuff you'd see in the cassette.
That's beautiful.
I'll show you real quickly. The,
Yeah. So what is the record?
nice, really
itself
heavy
like?
sleeve.
So it has the Enigma capital
Yeah.
logo on it or label on it.
There you go.
Enigma was like a smaller label that Capital distributed.
My upside down. There we go.
Yeah. The next thing to come out, I mean, by
This
this.
one's
Oh, Oh, sorry.
Actually,
Yep.
one more thing.
Oh, awesome,
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
So.
Oh, nice!
this
Look at
is,
that. That's from what store is that? That's from Spin It in Moncton, isn't
yeah, I
it?
would say.
I recognise that sticker.
Yeah, actually, I'll just show it this way first. Sorry.
This is a very cool. The sleeve is cool. It
That's
comes apart.
lovely.
Okay, so like what, 12-inch picture sleeve.
Yeah.
So it's got Swamp Juice Solo. So that's
CC's little
acoustic
diddly
thing.
diddly diddly.
Yeah, and
wow.
Skinny Bop on. So that's on one side, and then Valley of Lost Souls, which opens the album.
Great tune.
Poor,
Yeah.
poor blues.
Nice.
Yeah.
A little picture disc, and it comes up like that. So, in general, these
That's a
don't
beauty.
sound so good, but
But they look really
They
cool.
look really cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Love that.
So the next thing to come out from Poison, by the time this came out, I'm pretty sure CC had left because the video to So Tell Me Why is just basically Brett lip syncing with some live footage. So the live album, the inevitable live album, Swallow This Live. Now James, like mine, when mine originally came, like James is in the double CD case. So I got one of the slimline ones where you
Same
just kind of
here.
flip them in.
yeah.
But the booklet is so thick in Swallow This Live that I actually had to break the tabs out of here
Oh, no way.
so that I would put it in here without damaging it. It's like one of the thickest booklets
It
to
is.
any album. Now, and what's crazy about this, and you mentioned this too, the opening bands that they had on the Flesh and Blood tour, they list them here. Let's see. Poison would like to thank the following bands for joining us in our Flesh and Blood North America tour. Okay, most of these you can go, yeah, okay, I get it. Slaughter,
Yeah.
Bullet Boys, Dokken, Trickster, Whitesnake, Aerosmith, London Choir Boys, Thunder, Alice in Chains, on their very first major tour.
But hang on, Aerosmith wouldn't have opened for
No,
Poison.
these ones here, I read them out of order.
Oh.
This was when they played Castle Donington in 1990.
You didn't go to
so-
that show.
Oh
by any
no! You
chance?
know what? One of my greatest losses is never having
Seen.
been to Monsters of Rock Festival. Basically, someone I'm going to grab my phone to show you something very quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I listen to. I mentioned how I always listen to Thunder, and funnily enough, one of my I have very little on my iPhone. I have House of Pain, but what I do have is Thunder live at Monsters of Rock, and I'm just trying to see when it was because it was 1990.
So that's the same.
So that's the and it's just the best. And I remember hearing this on the I heard it on the radio. And I have actually tons of cassette tapes that I recorded from the radio of Monster of Rock. They used to play it live, and of course they kept getting in trouble because everyone kept swearing.
Yeah.
But I never went. And basically, Guns N' Roses played one year. I was supposed to go, and a couple of people died, and then my parents said you can't go.
That
because
was
that'll
when
happen
that
to
was
you."
the Paradise City video shoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Iron Maiden.
But the other the interesting thing about that is that so Poison's set, as far as I know, was never filmed. Whitesnake's was, and eventually came out on DVD, and it's terrible.
Oh really?
Well, it's when they had and I love Whitesnake and I love Steve Vai. Everybody was overplaying.
Right.
Everybody was overplaying.
Right,
So
and
yeah.
that's the thing with Monsters of Rock. Also, what's fascinating to me about bands in general is when you read about these eras when they were in a complete mess and they're drinking too much and blah blah blah. It's amazing to me that they can still do this incredibly intricate thing. And equally, I mean, I know if I have one late night, my voice is
Shot.
shot the next day. How is it that the Steven Tylers and the Axl Roses and all of these singers were able to kind of party so relentlessly, up all night, sleep on a bus, and then deliver? And of course, not all performance
Right.
we're going to be great.
My old thing is they can do it for a while,
Right.
but it does catch up.
It does catch up.
Yeah.
I just watched that Foo Fighters documentary on Netflix, which is
pretty good.
fascinating. Yeah,
but
because
back and
and
forth.
forth.
yeah.
yeah.
And I'm actually not I remember seeing the Foo Fighters at that breakout gig that they talk about in Reading when they went from
okay.
being, and it was fascinating because they were on at the same time as the Stone Roses, and it was Stone Roses had reformed. Everyone was like, Stone Roses is amazing. Foo Fighters were playing in a small tent, and it was like, oh, it's the drummer from Nirvana, who gives a shit.
Yeah.
Stone Roses come on. They haven't rehearsed. It was diabolical. It was the big, I mean, literally the second coming of the Stone Roses, and it was diabolical. And just watching tens of thousands of people walk away from the main stage towards this tent.
Oh,
and
wow.
And then the edges of the tent just start being pulled down, and the crowd builds and builds and builds, and Foo Fighters just knocking it out of the park. And I think what I find fascinating about that, I'm always interested in passion and people's artistry and professionalism. And what I love about that Foo Fighters documentary so much is that you've got a real sense of their drive and like in some kind of Monster as well with the Metallica thing. Like even if I'm not into it's why I love documentaries, and it does I don't like any sports, but I'll be interested in a sports documentary if it's about someone that's passionate about something.
For sure.
But yeah, anyway, to the point being, what I find just fascinating is that these guys were able to kind of do this. And let's face it, I mean, even a bad gig by a band is, I mean, I guess the breaking point is the kind of Amy Winehouse thing when she's like, can't stand up and
slurring words.
slurring, yeah. But yeah, there's very few instances of recorded footage of bands being diabolical. There's somebody at the door.
Yeah.
There's somebody. They're probably thinking they can't still be talking about Poison. We can.
I think they know us well enough to know that it is possible.
It is.
This is my cassette of Swallow This Live. It's just a Canadian copy. And because it's a long album, there's a lot of tape on
That
here.
is a lot of tape.
Yeah.
See, this is such a high production value. We have people deliver us coffee.
We have, yes.
While we're
Lovely ladies
that's how
delivering us
showbiz
coffee.
we are.
Yes, we're just going
Thank you
to
very
take a
much
moment.
indeed.
Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, okay, well, this brings us to Nat's got a CD single. CD
Throw
singles are
this
kind
in
of
here.
a song that I love, and I think if it had come out a couple years earlier, it would have been a bigger hit.
I've never seen. I don't remember many CD singles in England being in the full case.
No, they usually just have the little things.
Yes.
So that's one of the 4 studio tracks they did for Swallow This Live. Only thing I remember with this, the video for this, Bret Michaels is basically playing in front of a big wall.
Yeah.
And then there's
live footage. Well, that's
so,
because CC had left. There was no band to.
Right.
Which leads us to 1993, and I've been curious to ask you about this, James.
Yeah.
What do you think of Native Tongue?
I don't dislike it, but to be honest, I think a huge part of maybe my problem in life is my my nostalgia. And it wasn't like my love of nostalgia is such that I could watch the most amazing new movie, for instance, but I still won't have as much fun as if I was watching The Toxic Avenger or Goodfellas and so for this, it's not a terrible album, but I never listened to it. I mean, the real takeaway from it is how ripped is Bret Michaels? I mean, that's just ridiculous.
It's my favorite look for the band, actually.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
but,
it really is a good. It's a look that suits them. And again, I mean, these are people that are on the road, living hard. How the hell is this guy doing 50,000 sit-ups there? I mean, I find that staggering. But do you guys like it?
I like this album a lot. I mean, I love CC, and having seen him, he is a great entertainer.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people talk about his guitar playing. I love his guitar playing. It's perfect for Poison.
Yes,
I love the fact that that there are 2 albums that are outside of the original 4 that you can talk about in much the same way that, I mean, I like Motley Crue. To me, Vince Neil's the singer from Motley Crue, but I love the album they did with John Corabi.
Right.
Oddly enough, around the same time. It's the first time there's no green, unless it's very, very dark green. This is just a Canadian issue of Native Tongue, which actually did quite well considering the era it came out in. It actually went platinum in Canada, gold in the States. Stand was a top 20 single in Canada, and I think it only reached number 50 in the States. There's really cool packaging inside here. Like Matt says, it's a cool look for the band. To me, it's kind of the equivalent of the Kiss look they had in the Revenge era.
Do you want to hear something interesting? Yours is glossy, mine's matte.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
But it wasn't, again, that lineup wasn't to be.
Right.
No, Richie Kotzen kind of, my understanding is he kind of broke a cardinal rule of the road and ended up with Ricky Rockets.
Oh, that's
And I think they've broken up, but still a little bit sensitivity there.
Yeah.
This is a Native Tongue on cassette. This is also a Canadian copy. Very, very expensive on vinyl. I've looked for it different times
Oh, yeah?
and not had too much luck finding a copy that's affordable. That's the Native Tongue thing is just...
That's interesting. Well, I'm going to listen to it
I'm
again.
going to give it a theater of my soul, and
I'm going to give it another go.
I love that album.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a
Very
little
cool.
bit more technically, but it's really good. It's really
So
good.
we've all got copies,
Yeah.
different copies of the live show that they taped at the
From the
Caesar
Spirit
Hammersmith
Tour.
Hammersmith Apollo, yes,
yeah.
where I shared a stage with Russell Peters.
Yeah. You can see we got their keyboard player.
Does he have a name?
I'm sure he does. So as far as the track listing, though, obviously very heavy on
native tongue.
native tongue. So
And it's, I mean, the only time
How long's yours?
that
80
she'll
minutes? 82, mine's 80, but that could be the
intro
power
video or whatever.
Apprentice.
Actually, that's another thing about the winery dogs.
little
When,
ad for Brett Michaels, one of his solo.
oh yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, when the winery dogs play live, typically because it was kind of his song he brought in, they usually do stand. So
Oh, okay.
the verses are a little bit different. Is that what it is, Matt?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Worth pointing out that this Sight for Sore Ears video is a vivid peek into Poison's private life that includes exclusive limousine footage, backstage video. Brett Michaels presents his personal views on. What was funny though, back in this era, like I mean, obviously, Some Kind of Monster was a exception. Or was very new at the time, but it's interesting how much of a front and a kind of false sense of self that musicians would put on back in these days. Like whenever it was like, you know, behind the
There's a
scenes,
camera in front of their faces.
they're really playing up and they're really in character. Whereas now, I guess we're also used to cameras.
Yeah.
That or they and just people in general. That now you get kind of more intimate insights, and now it's the done thing to show as intimate. An insight as you can possibly get. I mean, right up to Beyonce's recent amazing documentary. But back then, these things, which is a vivid peek into life on the road. It's like no, it was scheduled for weeks. That the cameras are coming into the tour bus on this day, and then they act out these stupid skits, and it's actually not remotely enlightening.
And it also has, of course, all the videos from their first two albums. I think if you want an accurate depiction of life on the road for Poison, it's that scene from the Every Rose Has Its Thorn video where Bobby Dahl is like, "I tell you something, you can't even stand up." So the next thing I think we have to talk about is the inevitable best of. Poison had more of the bands of their era. They had something like 10 top 40 singles in the States, which is quite something. So they were compiled, and it made for an excellent car CD. Poison's Greatest Hits 1986 to 96. So this did come out in 96.
Is that what I have?
With the electric green.
Do I have that? Or is
No, that's the
not-
Crack a Smile.
Yeah, it
That's,
was.
So there's this is the Canadian Columbia's version.
Oh, it's one of those. Yeah.
And it's like I said, it's an excellent car CD. You can just throw it on, and great song after great song. Now, eventually, the top 40 hits ran out on here, so there's just some great album tracks. But on the last two songs, "Sexual Thing" and "Lay Your Body Down," were from an album that they were currently working on with their then new guitarist who replaced Richie Kotzen, Blues Saraceno. We'll get to that in a second. This is what the greatest hits looked like on cassette, and the second of only the two Poison albums that do not feature the one and only CC DeVille. Matt's what we've all got here. "Crack a Smile" and more. This is one of the first CDs I ever remember Matt showing me a bootleg copy of.
Even before Napster, Tim and I had found a way to download this and design our own cover.
Nice,
And,
yeah.
The band was obviously getting wind of this, and
So Capitol finally said, and the reason it's called "and more" is because I think the first 12 tracks on here are the album proper. After that, there's some unfinished demos, and there's some songs from
MTV Unplugged.
and
Interesting.
also another great B-side from Open Up and Say Ah era, "Face the Hangman."
So basically, the album got leaked before release. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, so this
Interesting.
was the official release. So if this album had come out in its proper time, it probably would have come out in like 1995. And I think the reason, James, you were reminded of that greatest hits album is because when you pull that out of the tray,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
there it is.
there.
And the newest cassette I have to show you is "Crack a
pretty
Smile" on cassette. By this time, you didn't see too many cassettes in stores. A little bit like 8-tracks in that by the early 2000s, you weren't seeing them in retail stores anymore. But there's also a really good write-up about, and it kind of teased the tour that they were about to embark on with the original lineup, which leads us to one of the funnest concerts I've ever seen. And they promoted it with this album here.
Oh.
you have this one, yeah.
Power to the People.
No.
Power
This-
to the People.
Now, you do have it a little bit,
Oh,
because all of the
oh.
live tracks on here come from this. but
Interesting.
This has 5 studio tracks to cut it off, new studio tracks. 4 of the 5 of them I think are absolutely amazing. And I thought hopefully it was going to pave the era for
See,
a new
look,
era of
mine
Poison.
is in my rental car outside right now because I listened to it the whole way down here, and I love it.
I did want to show. This is where I got into keeping my ticket stubs finally.
Yeah, I've got the exact same stub at home.
So there's a stub that I usually put them inside of my
Beautiful.
CDs. So,
I highly recommend seeking out Power to the People.
Well, it sucks that nowadays it's all print it yourself.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Ruined. I have all my tickets from every gig I went to as a kid, from New Kids on the Block to Spice Girls to The Shadows to Radiohead. Shadows and Radiohead. You don't hear those two bands mentioned.
I mean, like the Shadows, as in like the '60s.
Yes, Hank Marvin and
Okay.
it's first concert I ever went to.
Okay.
I went to see them at the Reading Hexagon with my dad, and I wanted to go and see Guns N' Roses at Monsters of Rock, and he said, "You can't, so I'll do the second best thing. I'll take you to the Shadows."
Okay.
I went to the Shadows, and they came on stage, and Hank Marvin played his guitar, and I'd never heard anything so loud. And I remember, I don't know how old I was, 8, 9, 10, 11. Started crying, just like the sound of,
was so loud.
of hearing a guitar live, albeit in this kind of provincial, local, theatre, and a band as like them, but it just blew me away. Yeah.
Awesome. I forgot to show you, this came out in '99. This is just, I don't have many CDs like this. I just thought this was kind of fun. VH1 and Rhino Records put this out in 1999. Big Hair, they put out a series on this one, the Big 80s. This is the Big Hair edition. And I'll just show you the track listing on the back. Talk Dirty to Me is track number 2 on here. But the whole album, it's another good car CD, but it is a various artists album. The next thing to come out from, let's talk about that. Bret Michaels.
So is this I'm just looking now, it says movie in stores and entertainment. Is this a soundtrack?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the soundtrack. He formed a partnership with Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen of all people, yep.
Right, and what's this movie?
That's the Letter from Death Row, as he stars in the actual movie. I picked this up at like a Dollarama.
But what's weird is how bad, how that artwork is just bizarre.
I'm pretty sure he either designed it or even maybe Ricky Rocket might have put it together.
Yeah.
Look at the CD
It's
itself. I
definitely,
mean, it was...
Yeah, it basically looks like a very bad bootleg.
So Brett's done a lot of solo work, and we'll talk about Brett here in a second. Matt's got another DVD here.
This is just the greatest video hits.
Oh, nice! I have not seen that.
Doesn't that have the Sight for
17
Sore Ears on it, as well as
Yes.
like the other videos that came out after that, just to put them all in one DVD? I don't know.
Weird though that again, you would never make this mistake. The pee from the poison has been cropped off.
Yeah, seems like an obvious.
It's odd when you see mistakes that happen on what you assume, but
it's
then
like, how did this get off the drawing?
Seems like this might have been
But I don't think it is a bootleg.
No, it's
Right.
not.
No, it's just a cheap company.
Yeah, let's just put it.
What's that? I've
So
not seen that.
okay, so like I said, after Power to the People, and the 5 studio tracks, I'm telling you, they're just really good. I'm not too crazy about the ballad, the last song, but the title song, Power to the People, is awesome.
Terrific.
CC sings a really fun song called "I Hate Every Bone in Your Body But Mine." The Strange is kind of a cool country rockish kind of song. It's just really good. Can't Bring Me Down, that's the other one. So I really had high hopes. And Poison are doing a new album, reading about it. Finally in 2002, what is so far the most recent all-original Poison studio album, The Mistake,
Which I
that
personally
is
do not have.
Holly Weird. And I can tell you that you're not missing much, but you should pick it up.
The same designer did the work.
Pretty much, yeah. And what would you say? I mean, this album has moments. It's that they didn't spend enough time.
Yeah, the
writing the
production.
song.
Again, it looks like you said. It looks like.
Yeah.
And they put it out themselves. It's not on a
so
major label. They, the title song's kind of fun. I mean,
Shooting Star, I guess, would kind of be like a cheap knockoff of
Fallen Angel, yeah.
Right.
They cover Squeeze Box by The Who. It's just a very low budget.
It's a terrible name as well.
Holly Weird. I mean,
That's...
so yeah. So what's next after that? I guess 2003, of course, Capitol at this point. Like, let's just put some stuff out. This bizarre best of ballads and blues.
How bizarre to pick a.
So it's ballads and it's like bluesy kind of songs.
When they have 1 or 2 great ballad and blues songs, but so then a load of just other stuff. That's
like
interesting.
tracks from Native Tongue and.
Well, now what is good about this, and really the thing that makes it worth paying the $5 at Walmart for, is the fact that this has the acoustic version of Something to Believe In that was on the B-side of the single, which has different lyrics. It talks about Brett coming home from school and realizing his mother had moved away.
These releases are literally just to rip off completists like us.
And when you see something that's got a different cover, it's really hard to resist buying.
Yeah.
So the next thing to come out, James already showed it. It's an updated best of, which there really wasn't much to update. 20 Years of Rock, the best of Poison. The reason that I was really concerned about buying this is because for the first time on a Poison CD, it includes their cover of Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss, which
Mine got
appeared
ruined.
back in 1987 on the Less Than Zero soundtrack.
Oh, interesting.
And so it appeared for the first time here. They also cover Grand Funk's We're an American Band. And
Mine spent an evening in a parking lot in Yarmouth in the snow. It fell out of the car when I parked at the venue, and then it came out and it looked like that. But that is what happens on the road. But a much loved.
One thing I do like about this one, a lot of times when you get a greatest hits from a band, you'll go to look at the track listing. Okay, they put their 3 most known hits right at the top,
Right.
and then a bunch of whatever. This one is actually
it's chronological.
Yeah, that's smart.
So far, I said that Hollywood was their most recent studio album of original material. Last thing they put out as a band is this, Poisoned, which came out in 2007. Capitol put this out. It's all covers. Now, a lot of the covers on here, as a matter of fact, the last 5 tracks all appeared before. I mean, it's got Your Mama Don't Dance, We're an American Band, Squeezebox, but there are newly recorded covers, and I like some of the track listings they do. They do I Need to Know by Tom Petty, I Never Cry by Alice Cooper.
But fascinatingly, Your Mama Don't Dance was spelled M-A-M-A on here,
yeah.
and then here it's M-O-M-M-A. Which again is just that point where I guess attention to detail was not.
Was this around the same time that Def Leppard did the Yeah
Yes,
kind of covers?
a lot of bands were doing covers albums around this time. So, but you know, I mean, it was something new to listen to. It was something we didn't have previously. I mean, you know, and none of these things came out on vinyl. Probably just not the demand's not there. So I think Matt's got.
The last thing, as far as I know, that the band put out.
Which I've never seen. So was it? That looks recent.
Yeah, well, 2008.
2008.
Right,
So
that's
already-
recent. They now
already 11
Yeah.
years.
Listen, when we're in a world of 8 tracks, that's recent.
Yeah. Nice little
And when was it filmed? Was it an old gig?
It's I think it's from 2007.
Oh my god! Oh my god! So
2008,
So it's got some of the cover tunes that appear on Poison there, like I Need to Know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that tour.
so it was a recent-ish.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it a slipper? Yeah. I'll let you.
There we go.
That's lovely. I must order a copy.
I think you can also get that as a standalone CD.
Yep. And so there's the CD and the DVD.
Nice.
Inside of it.
Wow.
So that's kind of our Poison. So to bring it all up to the present day, as James mentioned, Bret Michaels tours frequently as a solo artist, and unfortunately, I got to sit this one out. James and Matt are going. I'm pretty sure that Will and his dad Glendon are going. There'll be a lot of people there.
And
It'll be a fun show.
If you're watching this, Brett, surely you would like to put your Sharpie pen over some of this stuff. So we will be at the casino. Yes.
Yeah.
Look at that, Brett. Look at that, Brett. Brett, please, just call us backstage. We're very respectful. You've hung out with us for 45 minutes. You can see we're good people. And I'm assuming, I don't know if you guys know, I'm assuming he plays a ton of Poison.
It would primarily be Poison, probably some covers.
Right, but yeah, you don't think it's going to be one of these nightmare situations where you go and see someone that's known for a band and then they just play all their solo stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Our plan.
Yeah. Oh right, there you go. Exactly.
So yeah, I mean that's a look through. That was fun. A look through our Poison collections.
Beautiful.
It'd be great to have some new music from them to talk about, even if they just kick out another covers
They've
album.
been saying that they're working on maybe a song or two.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see what
I
happens.
guess we'll see. So James, now this is the part where you plug your tour and your new Blu-ray.
Oh yes, well, it's a wonderful. I mean, as you can see, all of this artwork. I mean, we're sitting here admiring packaging. I mean, this is something which is. Again, it's why Matt and I work so well together, because he has a passion for this as much as I do. So I put a lot of work obviously into writing the shows. I put a lot of work into working with the right directors and film people on the show. on capturing it for a special, and then that attention to detail extends to all of it. And I want it to be. I mean, the company we use for this is the same company that do Disney things and does the Disney Blu-ray duplications and slipcases. So I love the fact that Matt put so much work and energy into this, and we literally, I mean, months and months and months, isn't it, that we work to get this together. And it's just nice. I like to put out into the world the same things that I want to get from things that I like, right? You know, we've talked at length about, you know, the things that we love that Poison have done, and the packaging, the artwork. I want to have that same attention to detail, and we were talking about, you know, people being professional and passionate. Like, I pride myself on putting a lot of work and effort into the shows themselves. And when I mean, last week, I won't name names, but a very big name, legendary comedian came to St. John, and some people felt that it wasn't everything they'd hoped for. What I take away from that is, I take it as a compliment when people when they see a less great show or a less great product by someone who can and should know better. They maybe appreciate it more when they see someone that does make a huge amount of effort, and that's really what I try and do. So, and we'll try and do tonight in an hour here in Woodstock, where I will try and you know, bring my best possible show to the lovely people of Woodstock, New Brunswick.
And look for James in your area. You'll laugh, okay? So you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're
all
on
of it.
Instagram.
At James Mullinger, which it might be appearing on the screen right now. If Tim, you're a professional editor, you know what's right.
iMovie won't
I want to do that.
No,
At
JamesMullinger.com.
And that's where you can buy this.
Take a good look here at the side. That's how you spell it.
Yeah.
So yeah, .com. That's .com. And yes, James, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
No,
for
thank you
taking
guys.
the
I
time
appreciate you guys. As I
for-
said, we've known each other for a number of years. I've admired what you guys have done. We've hung out before at shows. We've hung out together on Record Store Day, and I mean, really, for collectors, there's nothing better than sitting with other collectors and talking about what we love. Because as you both know, if you try and talk about any of this with anyone who is not a collector, they just think that we're mental.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
you
It's
know,
always good to find like-minded people.
And it's funny, like people say, like it's hard to describe, because often when I'm doing press interviews and stuff, people are like, "What'd you do to relax?" And they're expecting to hear, like, you know, play golf or whatever, or, you know, hiking. It's really sitting alone in my room, watching videos, looking at my stuff, that's you know, and this is my passion in life. So it's nice to share that passion with two people I admire. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for watching this special edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions.
All right.
Thank you.